Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. For those who do not know me, my name is Arqam Cheema, your very own sales guy and the co-founder of Captains Limited. And today we have Mark Greening all the way from the UK to join us and help us in understanding how you can grow and scale brands which have like hundreds of SKUs, and also helping those agencies who are managing accounts, bulk accounts with hundreds of SKUs. So thank you so much for joining us, Mark.
No problem at all. Really nice to join you.
Okay, so let's start with your introduction, Mark. Like, what is Orange Rocket? Who is actually Mark, and what's your experience in the industry?
So I've been around in the e-commerce space for just over 6 years now. So a bit of an old timer in our
Mhm,
industry. I started as an ordinary Amazon seller
mhm.
and started my
Okay.
own brand. We scaled a beauty brand which I sold a few years ago. Started another brand
Mhm,
last year which we scaled and sold as well. So I understand the seller space.
mhm.
Um, about 4 or 5 years ago, I
Okay.
started to get involved in doing Google Ads for people and PPC, the very early stages of PPC when we had just sponsored products and very little else. Um, and I realised I had a bit of a
Okay.
skill for it, and then that developed into freelancing, which then naturally developed into starting an agency. About
Mhm.
3 years ago now, we started an agency which developed into Orange Rocket. I've got a number of account managers based abroad
Mhm.
and myself, admin, and we manage clients all over the world: US, Canada, UK, Europe, um, and help them to both scale and grow and indeed launch. On the
Mhm.
Amazon marketplace. So that's really where I come from, and yeah,
Okay.
something I have a real passion for and enjoy
Okay.
doing.
So as you said that you have been a seller yourself as well. Now you're running an agency. So what's the difference between running ads, PPC ads specifically for an agency owner, or and for an Amazon brand owner? How is it different for them?
Well, really, the big difference is that you have to be more structured and organised as an agency owner
Mhm,
because you
mhm,
are managing multiple accounts, multiple SKUs, multiple
mhm.
requirements. One of the big differences between, say,
Yeah.
running your own um, product PPC and say doing it for a client or a number of clients is the way you've got to be structured and organized. So
Mhm,
we have very clear
mhm,
identifiable processes that we do on the same time every week, every 2 weeks or every month. They're
mhm.
all numbered, they're all documented, and we have a very clear structure because if you don't, when you're managing what we are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products across multiple clients,
Mhm.
it's very easy to get confused and very easy to not do a quality job without that organization. So that's the biggest
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. So actually, I have noticed this thing that the majority of the agency, what they do, they are doing good when they're at the initial stage. But when
They're
they're
what, sorry?
scaling, they forget about when they're scaling, they forget about the initial clients they had, and the overall quality starts to drop just because they do not have like a synchronized structure in place.
That's right. So
So moving forward,
go on. Sorry. I
so
was just going to say, yeah.
yeah, to continue, please. I have a second question after this. Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
So
Yeah, go for
yeah,
it.
please. Mhm. Okay, so the second question I have related to this, like, how does your PPC marketing funnel looks like? How do you know what you have to do, and how you make sure that you using this XYZ funnel you can make your overall advertising profitable?
Well, the important thing is to understand what the funnel is. And so, what we do is a
Mhm,
lot of people don't understand the marketing funnel. So, if you imagine the funnel as sort of like a sort of triangle, you've got at the top of the funnel, you've got awareness. In the middle of the funnel, you've got consideration. And at the bottom of the funnel, you've got high
yeah.
intent. So it's important to
Yeah.
understand where you are in the funnel. So when we first launch a brand, we'll typically be at the bottom of the funnel where we're fishing for high intent buyers. That's people who are typing in the brand name, people who are looking for similar products, people who are maybe repeat buyers, high intent shoppers. And then what we'll do is we launch and we go further, we go up the funnel. So one of the things that a lot of agencies or people who run PPC forget is that they just throw a whole load of PPC at products and don't think about what type of campaigns to run at what particular time. So if you're scaling a brand, bottom of the funnel to start with, and then you start building up. And say the middle of the funnel is more about discovery campaigns, trying to find new keywords, what we call brand offense, which is where we're trying to target competitors, video competitor things. And then we're going up the funnel into later we're going up the funnel into awareness, where we're talking about sponsored display, maybe some auto campaigns, category campaigns, those kind of things. So it's important to be very structured and organized about how you approach your PPC campaign, knowing what to do when.
All right. So how is the overall marketing funnel is working in your agency when you are like working on multiple accounts at the same time with like hundreds of SKUs in it? Are you changing your strategy accordingly, or is it the same strategy every time?
It's the same processes, but it's a different strategy. So what we will do is the most important thing when you're dealing with multiple clients is what we call the foundations. So particularly when you're dealing with a very large number of SKUs, get the foundations right. So when we onboard a client, we spend a lot of time documenting every single in every single SKU. We're looking at what the product is, what the title is, what the price is, what the break-even ACOS is, and indeed, if we can get the information, what the client's looking for in terms of target ACOS. Sometimes we can't get that. And then we'll do the same processes for all of the time, but the targets and the objectives will be different for each client and indeed each product or each product group. So we might have different ACOS targets. We might, so for each client will understand where they are in the funnel, whether they're launching, in which case we're favoring ranking campaigns and bottom of the funnel. And then this will all be documented to where they are. And I have regular meetings with my account managers to review the performance against the objective.
Okay. All right. So are you like, how let's say it's more like the auditing process of the account. So initially you are getting the hold of the account, like what actually the account is doing right now, what the client wants, and all of that stuff. So let's say you have onboarded a new client, or you are onboarding a new client. So there's a client with like 300 SKUs or 200 SKUs. How are you going to manage the auditing process of all the SKUs? Are you going to opt an automation tool or some sort of what's your strategy on it?
So, well, firstly, coming back to what I was saying a minute ago about foundations. So if you've got 300 SKUs, then once you've documented them, then what we will typically do is we will group them. So a brand with that many SKUs might well be, say, something like a fashion brand where it's got a particular item of clothing and it's got multiple sizes and multiple colors. For us, the most important thing when you're managing a large amount of products, well, any PPC, is to get your naming convention correct when you're managing PPC. That's absolutely essential. We provide, every single product has its own unique identifier that we assign to every product and indeed every group. So, for example, if you're selling some socks, for a particular fashion brand. Now you might have socks in red, in black, in pink, in blue. Now each of those will have their own unique identifier. So if we wanted to advertise the red sock, that would have an identifier. And then what we do is we create a little group in our spreadsheet that says, this is the group containing the red socks, the white socks, the black socks, and the pink socks. And we're going to give that a unique identifier as well. So every time, if we wanted to create a campaign, or if we wanted to, when we download the search term report, we can filter by the unique identifier that identifies that either that product or that group of products. And that is in the name. That is then in the name. So if we wanted to create campaigns, or if we wanted to manage campaigns for all of the socks, we would identify that unique identifier that was associated with that group, and then we can just filter in the search term report, and we can do various things. Now, to your second part of your question, which was automation, we're using a mix of an automation tool. It's a tool we've been using a while called PPC Agility, which runs some fairly high level automated processes. We use bulk files, and those are the two main systems we use. It's important that if you can document the process, so for example, bid management. So if you can easily document a process, then you can automate it. Now, okay, automation is getting clever as we develop in this industry, but at the moment, if you can document a process very clearly in a document, then you can automate it. So everything that can be documented, I automate. Everything that requires experience or someone to make a judgment, for example, finding new search terms that we create keywords, I don't automate that. Sometimes someone needs to look at that search term and say, okay, we're advertising socks. This search term is someone searching for shoes. Is that relevant for the product? Now, you can't automate that because at the moment, the system won't know whether that's relevant. You need the experience or language skills to be able to know. So we automate anything that is very simple and high level. And then everything that requires experience or knowledge of advertising, we use bulk files, but we use an element of our account managers will eyeball the data and make some decisions.
All right. So in short, do you have like detailed SOPs in place that even if a newbie or a new guy is coming in your agency, he can easily read all those SOPs and he can start running ads for your guys?
That's correct. So we document it in. I have a lot of Loom videos that I created when the processes were documented. We also use Trello for document processes as well. And yes, all of the account managers go through a very detailed training program with our agency to make sure they understand the processes. We also have documented processes for onboarding new clients, for our fairly detailed documentation process, and lastly for our audit process. So we've got SOPs for each stage, because if you don't onboard a client right, then you're setting yourself up to fail. If you and we have a documented process for auditing, as I say, for onboarding, for reporting, and also for the day-to-day management. That's really a big difference between, I think, agencies and someone managing a few accounts or doing it themselves.
All right. So how does your PPC data extraction looks like? So how do you you have to extract data to optimize your listing, optimize your ads after every few weeks? So how are you extracting that much of data and selecting the right keywords or right search terms from that data? Let's say if you have 10 you're managing 10 brands at the same time. So how are you making sure that you are achieving that sort of accuracy while working on all of them?
So firstly, we will divide the accounts up into account managers. So as an agency, each account manager, what I tend to do is I will grade each account depending on how complex it is. So it might be a grade A account, which is quite simple. There may be a grade D account, which has got hundreds of SKUs and very complex. And we will assign the accounts to the account managers that have got the skills or got the experience or the capacity to manage them. So no account manager will manage more than 4 or 5 accounts typically, sometimes a bit more depending on that. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the account managers then become very, very familiar with the products, the keywords, and the relevancy of those keywords. And so that's kind of how we make sure that the hard bit actually is someone like me who's looking at, say, 20 accounts. And the hardest job is for me to kind of keep my head around all of the accounts. Account managers are only worrying about 4 or 5, and that's how they become very, very involved in the accounts. And because we try and keep our accounts for a long period, they become very familiar with what works and what doesn't.
All right, cool. So we have a couple of questions. Let me just pull them one by one. So what's the game plan for Black Friday and Cyber Monday? What's your game plan on it?
I don't do a huge amount for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That may surprise some people. I tend to don't do a huge amount in terms of special particular campaigns on those days, because what I find is that unless you've got the right products, very often those days everyone lifts up, the whole traffic lifts up, and everyone spends more money. And my analysis over the years has sort of looked back and said, well, actually, very few of the accounts I've worked with have actually made money on those days, because everyone spends more. And I'm not a big fan of those days, and that may surprise people, but I found that those days don't generally result in much more profit, which is ultimately what my clients care about.
So is it about, like, is it because of the unwanted clicks that you are getting on those specific days?
Yes.
That's like pumping up, because I have also experienced that if you are not like a holiday relevant product, the worst thing that can happen to you is like you keep on getting clicks, which is consuming a lot of your budget, but in the end you are not making enough sales. So,
correct. So typically a Prime Days is a good example where people will discount their products. They'll get a massive increase in maybe sales and stuff, but they won't necessarily make more profit, which is ultimately what they care about. And there's no yet. A lot of brands also use those days to get rid of other products. Oh, I think I might have lost you.
are you there? I guess I got disconnected.
Yes. Lost you there. Sorry about that.
Sorry for that. So let me just move forward to the other question, which is, should we immediately go with automation tools or do manually restructuring and optimization initially?
I would, at the moment, be very cautious about automation tools. As I said earlier, if you can clearly document a process, then you can automate it. But most, I would say, only about 50% of the processes that we currently do are suitable for automation. So if I can write it down and follow a set of clear rules, then it can be given to a document, so it can be given to an automation tool. If it requires an element of experience at the moment, and they're catching fast at the moment, the PPC automation tools are not there yet, although they are catching up quickly, very quickly. And I think it's a matter of time before we're just supervising the tools.
Right. So moving forward to the other one. Okay. How can we effectively manage and track results of our actions for PPC of 50 plus SKUs, as it's quite difficult to optimize at keyword level?
So say that again. I missed part of that question. Sorry.
Okay.
50 SKUs, was that?
Yeah.
So how can we effectively manage 50 SKUs? Was that the question?
Yeah. How can we effectively manage and track results of our actions for PPC of 50 plus SKUs?
Well, firstly, from what I was saying earlier, it's a lot about the onboarding, making sure you document all of the processes with unique identifiers, grouping them. So depending on what the 50 SKUs are, normally, if you've got that many SKUs, you've usually got groups. So you might have a product where it's got a large, medium, and small. You might have a product where it's got different colors or different sizes. You can group them. So you don't have to. If you try and run advertising for every single ASIN, every single SKU individually, you'll probably, most clients don't have the budget. So we group them.
Okay.
So we'll send all of the, so that's the first thing. Documenting them, well, that requires a fairly sophisticated documentation system. Now we use, are you familiar with Data Studio? A Google Data Studio. So what we do is, so we extract a whole, I've got a very sophisticated documentation system where we extract all of the data from Amazon. And this is where a lot of agencies and people go wrong, is that they give clients data and not information. So one of the things that's important that we do is that we take the data and we create information for clients. So a client isn't interested in necessarily in campaigns, ad groups, and to a certain extent, they're not really that interested in keywords. What they are interested in is the information that means. Are their sales growing? Is their conversion rate going up or down? What's their average order value? What's their traffic, their split of mobile versus non-mobile traffic? What's their TACOS, what's their ACOS, those kind of things. And then what's the split of advertising versus organic? And I've seen so many reports from agencies that just list campaigns and ACOS numbers, and the client goes, what does this mean?
Right. Okay.
And so
client doesn't know what it actually works like. Yeah, so just moving forward to this another question. Okay, so is PPC good in Q4 and because the bids are already too high? So how are you managing your Q4 effectively while being profitable?
So we will, the most effective, it doesn't matter whether you're in Q1, 2, 3 or 4, the most important thing about PPC management is bid management. Obviously foundations like campaign naming and things like that, but if you don't understand bid management, then you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. So the most important thing when it comes to managing any account, regardless of what period it's in, is to understand how to manage bids properly. So if you are managing an account in Q4, we are tightly controlling our bid management to ensure we hit particular targets. So we will talk to our clients before Q4 and we will say, what are your objectives for Q4? Do you want to, when you've got lots of traffic, do you want to scale your brand, taking advantage of the traffic? Do you want to maximize your sales? Do you want to maximize your profits? Do you want to, what do you want to do? Then we adjust the targets, TACOS targets, ACOS targets, sales targets, and then we will do proper effective bid management to those numbers. So people get very kind of excited and worried about, all Q4, it's, we've got to do something different. What you've got to do is to properly manage your accounts so that you maintain control. It might be in Q4 you have to manage them more frequently because the numbers are bigger and they happen more quickly. But essentially, if you don't master good bid management, you're going to get into trouble quickly.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we have already answered some of the questions which are shared here. So, how frequently do you optimize campaigns for each product? Also, do you optimize only if it is bleeding, or you just keep making small changes for maximum potential of the keyword?
Probably the latter. We have fixed periods, so we will optimize our accounts typically weekly. In the launch phase, we might do it 2 or 3 times a week, but during normal mature accounts, once they've gone out of launch phase, then we will do it weekly. We're looking for, as the question said, we're looking for bleeders, so keywords that are we're effectively looking for keywords. Oh, you're right there.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I guess
Okay.
that.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah,
effectively looking for wasted spend, bids having to go up or go down, finding new search terms and finding new product targets. That's what we're doing every single week. So as your question said, yes, it's small changes frequently, weekly. Every week, every client has the same processes done to it every week.
Right. Okay, are you there?
Yeah, still here. Can you hear me, right?
Okay. Yeah, there was. Sorry for the apologies for the delay. There was some sort of internet problem.
No problem. Still here.
Okay, so let's just moving forward to another. What are some of the SOPs? Okay, so can you just go a little bit deeper in terms of your SOPs? Like which points are you? What are the like top 3 things do you think are the most important SOPs when you are managing advertising? What are the top 3 things that you think we should focus on for sure?
So the top things are, well, there's really kind of 4 things or 3 things that you need to be worrying about. One is wasted spend. So you need to be looking at your PPC campaigns on a weekly basis, saying, am I having keywords that are generating clicks without generating sales? Now, the other thing to mention just on that is that you need to look at what we call data significance. So what I mean by that is that depending on the conversion rate. So I'll give you an example. We have a client that sells high-end furniture. I can't obviously say what it is, and their conversion rate is their conversion rate is about 0.5%. 0.5% is their conversion rate. Really, really low. Most people would say that's horrible, but they're selling items at hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Then you've got, at the other end, you've got a client that might have a conversion rate of 20% because they're selling cheaper, more commodity items. So what you need to do with wasted spend is we use a certain calculation that works out at what point is data significance achieved. What I mean by that is, look, for a big account that's doing 0.5% conversion rate, we might let a keyword go for 200 clicks before we decide that is a wasted spend. Whereas with the other account that's doing 20% conversion rate, we might only leave it 8 clicks before we decide it's wasted. So you can't just say, hit 8 clicks, take it out. It depends on what the product is and what the point at which you have reached a significant amount of data to make a decision. We're very data-led in our agency, very, very data-led. We're not emotional. So that's the first thing, wasted spend. Second most important thing is bid management. So are you hitting your ACOS target? If you are, don't touch it. If you are below your ACOS target, obviously, then you can increase the bid. If you are above your ACOS target, then you can decrease the bid. So wasted spend, bid management. Third element is finding new search terms. That is what we do, is we will take search term reports every week and we will look for search terms that have been matched to keywords, and we will create new keywords from them. So if your keyword is dog bed and your search term is dog bed for beagles, then we will create a new keyword calling dog bed for beagles in a variety of match types. And so it's a big cycle. And then finally, the third most important thing is obviously creating new campaigns to take advantage of new ad types, depending on what you're trying to do. So video at the moment is absolutely killing it. And so we're creating a lot of taking advantage of the video campaigns and sponsored brands and things like that. That's really
that's good. Okay, so I guess these are all the questions we had. So I guess it's over 30 minutes right now. So let's just wrap this podcast up. Is there any last suggestions that you would like to share with the community that would help them in growing their brands or their clients' brands?
Well, only that we are a large community of PPC specialists, and so don't be afraid to reach out to us to ask for advice and help. We can't always guarantee to get back immediately, but don't be afraid to to reach out to us, to reach out to me and say, look, I've got this question. Can you offer me any help and advice? Or if you're looking for a particular process, please do reach out to us. We're here to help. It's not just about managing clients, it's about helping the community as well.
That's really great of you. That's very good. Not too many people are actually doing all of this. People are actually scared to share their personal stuff. So I really
we can't share confidential data, but what we can do is we can share our processes, and we can, if it means that someone does better in their career and learns from that, then that's a good thing. We're all here together, and no matter where we are in the world, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help if I can. If I can.
So guys, you have heard Mark. You can reach out to him if you need any sort of help. Hopefully he will try his best to help you guys out. So again, thank you so much, Mark, for joining this podcast, for sharing your knowledge and being so humble. Hopefully we will be scheduling another podcast soon in the future. Till then, bye-bye, and thank you so much
again. Thank you ever so much. Take care. Bye-bye.